we have a chance to have an amazing life at this world, right? But nowadays, it's so easy to get comfortable and forget that we need to get out there and connect with people to really feel happy. And like if it's been too long ago since we felt that, we forget that. And we just stay stuck in the same routine. So for people who are scared to go out there because whatever, they're shy or they're afraid that they will lose too much energy, whatever it is, like also look at the other side. Like, what's the cost of not doing that?
Hello, Marcel. Thank you so much for being here and talking to me. I'm super excited to have you here.
Yes, so happy to be on your podcast, Bori.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, you mentioned that I think 2 or 3 years ago, we met Marcel on his birthday party, which was on this rooftop in Mexico. Mexico, it was in Playa del Carmen. And everybody was talking about Marcel's birthday. We had like a community there, mainly nomad-based, nomad cruise community. And everybody was saying like, are you coming to Marcel's birthday? And I think we were like 50 people there, right? Like a lot of us. And the reason why I wanted to start this podcast episode with that particular memory, because later on, it turns out that for you, having such a big birthday and having so many people talking about your birthday was not an every year occurrence. So my first question would be that I know that you create an amazing community all over the world right now, and we're gonna talk to that. But I think what I found interesting is that you call yourself an introvert, and then you were usually the people who would think that they are leaders and that they're creating communities, they are more extrovert. So can you talk a little bit about what is an introvert and what is an extrovert? Is it actually an important aspect of our lives today?
Yeah, absolutely. So the way I see it, introvert, extrovert, it's like an energy continuum where extroverted people, they gain energy from social interactions, from talking with people. And introverts actually slowly lose energy by having social interactions.
Okay.
So, which means that if you're an extrovert, like you go meet people and have social things to get energy. And if you're an introvert, like after you've gone to an event and you talk with a lot of people, you need some alone time to recharge your batteries.
I see. So it's kind of more like a spectrum, as you say, that then there's some people who can only handle like 1 hour and then of like networking and then they go home. And then there's people who just can't like stay alone as well.
Yeah, it's based on many variables and also like how many people are at the event, how comfortable do you feel at the venue? Is it like the type of people you meet? So there's a lot of variables that go into how much time an introvert can like have social interactions and then needs to recharge. But yeah, that's just a general definition, and it's a spectrum. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. And it also depends on, because kind of I feel like sometimes I'm getting so overwhelmed in big crowds, and being a community leader, it's such a funny thing that we both are. And then I am like, as soon as I'm surrounded by a lot of people, I feel that my energies are starting to be drained down, because for me it makes sense that I need to pay attention to a lot of people. Therefore, I pay less attention to myself. Do you think I'm an introvert then?
Okay, yeah, that's something that's difficult for someone else to answer, because everyone's somewhere on the spectrum, right? Even the most extroverted person needs probably some alone time. Then there's the difference between being introvert, extrovert, and highly sensitive, where it's like if you get like a lot of input for those people, like whatever their nervous system takes in, like it gets amplified, right? So if it's a lot of people and it's noisy, that might also drain energy, even if you're not an introvert. So it could be multiple things. Most people feel it's just from their core, like, okay, after socializing, I generally need to recharge. But there's nuances to it. And there's also online tests to see if it's like if you're a highly sensitive person or maybe you're more introverted, extroverted.
So I might be just highly sensitive.
That's possible. Yeah, because
thank you, Dr. Marcel. Already worth it. We only talked for 5 minutes and I already learned something about me. So what is the difference between introverts and highly sensitive people then?
Let me see, an highly sensitive, I'm not claiming to be an expert on this,
okay,
but extroverts can be highly sensitive. So they could be fine hanging out with 4 close friends for weeks, maybe live together, be together, have social interactions all the time. But then when they come in like a big place with a lot of noise and everything's very intense and maybe there's a lot of lights, whatever it is, they lose energy or like they get overwhelmed because of the sensory inputs.
So imagine that just because I have difficulties paying attention when there is a lot of noise, I actually prefer to, like when we go to a conference or somewhere where we need to eat together, a lot of people usually sit down and eat together. Which what happens usually with these kind of people is that we sit together like 12 of us, and then you speak with 1 or 2 people, and it can only stay in the surface level, because I cannot really go deep when there's so much noise around us and there's so many things happening. There's like waiters coming and then ordering and blah blah. So I started this game that every time we are 12 people, I start to ask them one question, usually something around dating, because people are super interested about dating. And then I just ask a question about dating and then they pay attention. And then we listen to everybody's answer, because I cannot stand like surface level conversations. What are your tricks to make a conversation more deep, or I think I would say more suitable for an introverted person?
Right. Yeah. Well, actually, that starts with the type of people you have, in this case, dinner with. Right. So that's why the types of events that I organize, it's curated. It's like only in this case for entrepreneurs. So I want to make sure I have something in common with the person to begin with, to make it worth it, basically. And then moving beyond surface level conversation is a lot about being in the moment and truly listening to that other person.
Is it also about the topic then? Yeah,
like having a specific question like that can actually really help, especially if you just met someone for like one of the first times. It's also why at my events I have eye connect conversation sparkers, which is, it could be questions about dating, but also what was the first way you made money, or like something that evokes a story.
Okay.
To move beyond the small talk, basically. So it's a combination of the people, the environment, like the group size, and then how good you are at having conversations, basically being in the moment, listening, and asking the right questions.
Oh, wow. Amazing. So I know that you actually yourself needed to learn these skills in order to be a better networker, right?
Yeah.
How was that story? How did that happen?
Well, we're both also digital nomads, right? And we move to new places and then we meet new people. And the conversations get so repetitive.
Yes.
When you meet new people, like if you reconnect with old friends, like you can instantly have things to talk about, right? But if you have a lifestyle where you constantly meet new people, like you kind of get motivated to not have repetitive conversations. Yeah, so I've what I remember from it, I just had a note on my phone as well from original questions that other people asked me and things that I could ask, instead of like, where are you from, or where are you going next, or like all those things that digital nomads always talk about.
So it means that when you started your journey as a nomad, it was overwhelming for you, that we always say like the vary from what you do. How do you pronounce your name in my case? And where are you going next, and where have you been? I think those are the 5 questions that you always hear.
It's so boring.
It's so freaking boring. So then you became tired with this. So you wrote down a bunch of questions that other people asked from you. And then if somebody approached you, you just took out your phone and you asked one question, or how did it go?
My memory is good enough to remember one question. So I didn't necessarily have to take out my phone all the time. But
That would be funny though.
it helps. It helps to have like, yeah. So for example, if I were to go to an event, like it's very simple and it's not a difficult question, but like you can ask like, what other events do you go to here? Because that will actually give you ideas for like which like other things are there if you're at a new place. But it also tells a lot about the other person, like their interests and what they enjoy doing, and that naturally sparks conversation that moves beyond that superficial small talk.
Okay, cool. Do you have any other conference tips that you can share with us for when you go? Because in conferences, it's always happening that you're just bored with all these questions. So you have prepared with the questions. Also, you said maybe something around the setting. So it's important to know where you go, or what can you do about the setting when you go to a conference?
Yeah, so there's the option to attend a conference or an event or an activity, and the option to organize something yourself. Like my biggest number one strategy would be to be the one who organizes the activity, because then you can choose exactly who you want at the activity, what time, what day, which location. You're totally in control, and you can craft the experience to meet like-minded people in a setting where you feel good.
Okay. Wow, that's really cool. Okay, so instead of actually participating, be a leader and then start organizing. That's why you started to organize yours ones in. You do them in Amsterdam. What is the purpose of the community events that you're organizing now?
Yeah, so in Amsterdam, I organize events that are exclusively for entrepreneurs. And my community is called No More Networking.
Oh, why is it called No More Networking?
Well, because networking often feels transactional, and it's like we go to an event to get something out of it. And we wouldn't maybe necessarily go to that event other than for getting something out of it. Like if we don't get that result, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of energy.
I feel that it's specifically true in a startup culture. So when I've been to startup meetups, they were like, so what are you like? Here, give me your pitch. Give me your elevator pitch. I was like, well, I like communities. I don't know. I just know what I came up with, and I could tell they're like, okay, this is useless. This is useless. I was always in the useless category. There, I really felt that they were like, okay, this is it. We are connecting. We are networking. And then it kind of feels like like a speed dating, but for business transactions.
Yeah, and like startups, and then also like general networking events where there's maybe freelancers like designers, copywriters, and they just would like to get a couple of more clients, right? And that's their entire goal for attending that event. And that makes it like they bring a bunch of business cards and makes it very transactional. And yeah, that's why I personally wouldn't necessarily go there to have a fun evening.
Okay, so then the events that you're organizing are for people who actually want to hang out. What's the main purpose of the event, therefore?
It's designed to feel a little bit like a casual evening out for dinner with friends.
Okay, for people who don't have friends?
I wouldn't say so. No, but like I have friends who are not an entrepreneur, right? And the reason I started this was actually in Bali. I exited the previous business. I was starting a new business. And until you get traction with your new business, until you get the story right, it kind of sometimes feels like no one cares. And you're in a vacuum until you found that new thing that gets traction and gets customers as well. And so because I exited my other business, I didn't have the shareholders and the client meetings and nothing of that anymore. And I wasn't in touch with fellow entrepreneurs that much anymore. Even though I had friends in Bali, they weren't entrepreneurs. So I specifically wanted to have a nice evening to connect with fellow entrepreneurs, to just like share some challenges and to get feedback and inspiration and ideas. So that's why I organized a dinner, like I just called it entrepreneur dinner, in Bali, where I invited friends, like only the friends who had a business, to basically join me for dinner there.
Okay, how did you find those people? Were they in your surroundings?
Yes. So I was already in Bali for like 6 weeks. So I already had a group of people I could invite. And then somehow I always seem to get lucky. Like when I'm working from a cafe, I'll like serendipitously meet that one person who's like a perfect fit for the dinner, and they will have a friend who also has a business. And yeah, very organically actually.
Okay, so how does one create a community like this?
How I did it was literally only with a WhatsApp group. So it was my idea, and then I knew that the place I wanted to go, and you like decide on the location, the time, and like who I wanted the event. Put everyone together in a WhatsApp group, make a list of people who want to join, make the reservation, and there we are. That's a start.
But in case somebody feels lonely in another aspect of their life, how do you suggest them to proceed?
Yeah, so that's actually where it could be good to start also attending some events to get inspiration about which venues do you like, which types of events do you like. So you get a bit of a feel for what you want to create yourself. And then it's very important to be clear on the type of people you want in your community, communicate that.
Mm-hmm.
So in my example, it's entrepreneurs who want to take their business to the next level. So I communicate that in everything. So I'm organizing a dinner for entrepreneurs who are in the process of scaling their business. And like that's the key thing when you invite people, right? You need to be very clear on, okay, these are the other types of people you're going to meet. And this is the common theme.
Okay, so first you kind of need to identify what's the main goal of gathering, right? Or what kind of people you're going to meet in such an event. So if I would like to organize a coffee lover community, then I would just invite people who I know who are interested in coffee, right? So probably gonna go out for coffee, by the way. But
Exactly.
okay.
Yes, be very clear on your ideal outcome. Like because like I organized these events because no one else was doing it. Otherwise I would have just joined those events, obviously. So I imagined, okay, what would be my ideal activity that I would love to join if someone else was organizing it. So I was clear on that. And that's the fundamentals. Yeah.
How can you find those people around you? How can you call them for such a thing? Like, where do you find these people?
Yeah, so in Bali, I had a little bit of an unfair advantage, but I think what might be a better example is I also did it in Austin, Texas, where I knew maybe 10 entrepreneurs, but they weren't able to attend the dinner that I was organizing. So I had to start from scratch, basically with inviting people to my events.
Mm-hmm.
So that might be a good example of how you could do it. So I had announced this event in a week from like the time I'm describing now. So I was like, okay, how am I going to get this off the ground? Because I need at least 8 people. Like a dinner with 2 people is not like an entrepreneur dinner. That it's just like people also come because they meet other people, right? So I needed to get like at least, let's say 10 or 12 people. That was the goal. But like, how do I start there? How do I get there? So what I did was online, I looked at which other events were organized that had a similar audience. So that entrepreneurs would also go to. So I checked Meetup, Eventbrite, Facebook events, etc. So I purchased tickets for all of those events to just go there as an attendee. But also I wrote to the organizers of those events.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, hey, I'm looking forward to attending your event. I'll be there like in a couple of days, whatever. And I also organize events. In fact, I'm organizing an entrepreneur dinner next week. If you're interested in joining, let me know. I would love to have you.
Oh, amazing.
So then you get exactly the community leaders, and like more than anyone, they're open to joining an initiative like that. So you both get the first people interested in joining you are like the perfect fit, but also they have a whole community of people around them, and they also spread the words, right? So and maybe not when you only when you send an online message, but I would actually go there and I would introduce myself and explain a little bit, and then like after 1 or 2 events, I had a group of like a perfect group of people together for that dinner. Like, yeah, just took a couple of days basically.
Amazing. So how many of these events do you have right now?
I focus now on Amsterdam, where I'm actually building a community with a core membership.
Okay.
So I do 2 events every month there. It's a dinner and a learn and connect, where we come together to learn something from like an experienced entrepreneur who shares their story and then ask me anything. So in Amsterdam, it's 2 events per month. And then also when I'm traveling, I'd organize these entrepreneur dining experience, I call them now. So tomorrow I'm doing one in Dublin, then a couple of days after one in Oslo, and then one in Berlin. So yeah, it's multiple per month. Yeah.
Okay. So now, and then are you attending all of them?
I'm organizing them, so I kind of have to attend them as well.
No, not necessarily. You can organize it from the distance as well. Cool. So why do you think it's important to have these kind of communities nowadays?
Well, I certainly know how much impact it has on my personal life quality. Like there is like a major difference. Before I started organizing events and I wasn't really able to find connections with the right people. And now that I'm actually organizing events and surrounded by like-minded people with similar interests. So from an individual perspective, I can say it's like a massive difference in life quality and also business opportunities. And I hear the same from everyone who goes to the events and also from fellow community builders and events organizers. You get so much value just for yourself, but also by providing value to other people, or so thankful for a curated evening where they get to connect with like-minded people and have new opportunities.
Okay, so you think is it going to be a trend in the future that people start doing more and more of these, or?
I hope so. Yeah, I always encourage people to, because I can only do so much. Like my community in Amsterdam it's only for entrepreneurs. It's a little bit more premium because there is a membership fee that's maybe not within everyone's budget, and I'm like limiting it to maximum 100 members. Mm-hmm. So I can only do so much. And I constantly encourage other people to organize their own local events as well and build their own communities. And that's also why I'm so happy to be able to share this on this podcast. So I certainly hope other people will do it as well.
Okay, cool. So what do you suggest for them if if they want to start organizing their own thing?
Well, the main thing is that it's so easy. It's so incredibly easy. Yeah, we already discussed how valuable it is and for which reasons. And then like one reason why people maybe don't do it is because they don't have the confidence that they can actually pull it off, or they think it's too much effort. But starting a community, it can be tiny. It can be like inviting 3 or 4 friends who are like have a similar interest for a monthly coffee or a monthly dinner. So my advice would be, don't make it too big. Just start out small, invite a couple of friends, make a WhatsApp group and come together. And if you want, it can grow from there. But if you're happy with that, it's like going to make a major difference for your life quality to only have that.
So what do you think? So I feel that there's going to be a huge problem with loneliness. I really don't want to say epidemic because everybody keeps saying that. And then I think it's overused. But I think there is going to be a lot of problems with how people are handling social circles, especially when we are coming out from offices now, and then also we don't actually have to go anywhere. You can, and then you can also go anywhere. So we are in this weird era where we need to figure out how to keep our social circles alive, or how to do. And then not only talking about entrepreneurs, but pretty much everybody, I think it's going to be useful for at this point, and not only digital nomads. But why do you think we keep talking about communities so far? And this is like the 11th episode, or I don't know how much episode this is going to go out, but we talked so much about communities up until now. Why do you think communities are so important nowadays?
Well, loneliness is like a serious, like according to a lot of statistics, this is like a present problem and it's growing. Mm-hmm. So, and community is the antidote, like local community with a group of people you trust, who support you. That is literally the antidote to loneliness. I think just like the reverse reaction to what's happening with people being sometimes more isolated and maybe optimizing for comfort and the convenience of their home and being on social media and putting something on Netflix or whatever. Yeah, I think it's just a reaction to that. Like there is a big demand for in-person events and community nowadays. Like you notice it as well, right? If you organize something, if you even give the platform, or you just set a date and a time and a location and a theme, like people want this.
What about those people who are afraid? Because I think with the loneliness, what also happens is that you get comfortable, and especially when you're an introvert, right?
Yeah.
And then you know that it can drain your energy, but then on the other hand, there is loneliness. How is it possible to mix it together, that you go out and then you meet a new community when you are afraid that it's going to drain your energies?
Yeah, good question. I mean, was kind of a close call for me if you look at my life 7 years ago or maybe it was 10 years ago, I don't even know. But no, I think like 5 or 7 years ago when I lived in a city in the Netherlands, I had actually bought my own home and I was optimizing for comfort, right? To make my life as easy as possible. And I wasn't making an active effort to meet people. And it was somewhat comfortable, but it was a terribly boring and unfulfilling life. So if you never take a moment to take a step back and look at what you all miss out on by not being part of a community, by not going out there, and the cost of that, if you look back like at the end of your life, like what you all missed out on, then you risk like wasting so much opportunities in your life, so much. So we have a chance to have an amazing life at this world, right? But nowadays, it's so easy to get comfortable and forget that we need to get out there and connect with people to really feel happy. And like if it's been too long ago since we felt that, we forget that and we just stay stuck in the same routine. So for people who are scared to go out there because whatever, they're shy or they're afraid that they will lose too much energy, whatever it is, like also look at the other side, like what's the cost of not doing that?
Yeah, you know, whenever I go to a new community, for example, I started to become part of the Tantra community because of Leonie and in Kopangan, and I went to my first Tantra class, and then we sat down and everybody's like with this big breath and then they're like loud and they're barefoot and all these things. And then I felt like, oh my goodness, these people are so pretentious. And and I had all these negative feelings right away. As soon as I walked in, I had these negative thoughts. I criticized everybody right away. And then I realized that every time I go to a workshop, I do the same thing. Every time when I go to a workshop that is designed to create a community, I criticize everybody right away. And then when we do the exercise, or we are past like 2 hours and it's actually a good event or a good workshop, I'm like, everybody's amazing.
Right.
So I think I'm an ambivert. I'm in between. I'm in the middle of the whole scale that you were talking about in the beginning as introvert and extrovert. But I really like the fact that I hate people until I get to know them, which is
right.
The definition of judgmental. I'm the most judgmental person you would ever meet. I know that you cannot tell I'm super judgmental. I'm trying to protect myself. This is the reason why, I guess. And then by the time this all passes, they become really good friends of mine and things like this. So I guess this is something that those people feel when they get comfortable in their apartment and they just don't want to go out and meet new people because they say that it's good enough for them, and then probably everybody else is stupid. But what I want to get with this one is that so our community, the nomads, we are forced to make new connections because you're traveling, and after a little bit, you get super lonely. So if you don't have the old friends, and not necessarily the old friends when you were back home, they were still a good company for you because we change. But when people don't change locations and they have their old friends with them, then they don't ask the questions. And I think this is where community comes in. They don't really ask the questions like, what else I'm interested about and where am I lonely? Because maybe I'm not lonely when I'm talking about old memories with someone. So I say like, oh, you remember when we were, I don't know, like played on this playground, and then we can talk about memories with that person, but with a new person, you can't do that.
Yeah.
But maybe with my old school friends, I cannot talk about how it is to eat the best burger in New Zealand, or how it is to do this and that, or talk about spiritualism, or talk about business, or talk about all the topics that are interest me right now, because they're not in the same route that I am.
Yeah.
So I think what you're doing, and I'm sorry that I speak so much, there's not going to be a question probably at the end, but what I love about you guys and everybody who's creating a community is that there's a topic, as you said, where you can attach yourself, and you can actually meet other people. The problem usually is that people don't know what else interests them. Would you agree that maybe some people are like going through the general route of, I don't know, we're gonna go 9 to 5 just because we have to, and I feel that that might be the reason why they don't look for new communities.
Yeah, I think it's like some people will be genuinely happy with like a simple 9 to 5 life, and maybe their family and a couple of friends and going for a drink in the weekends. I think those people are for sure there. They don't necessarily have a desire to go out there and to live a different life. And then there's a part of the group who has the same behaviors, but like they could be really unsatisfied with their life, or they don't know how much better it could be.
Yeah. And I think it all comes down to the question, what I actually like to do, what makes me happy. And if somebody asks what makes me happy, I'm sure that doing business for you is something that makes you happy. Yes. Otherwise, you wouldn't want to go out and talk about this in like a networking event with people. Many people don't like what they're doing. So therefore, they are not actually creating a dinner around their work because they hate their work. So I think it all boils down to, before you start to find the community that you want to belong to, ask yourself the question, what makes me happy?
Yeah. And sometimes you might not know because you don't experience that as part of your daily life. I didn't know I enjoyed traveling and going to new places until, for my previous business, I had to go to a conference in New Orleans. I hadn't really traveled for years, but because like it just happened, it came on my path. I discovered, hey, I'm like in a new place. I'm 10 times happier with like all the new things I see and getting out of my routine. So that's when the seed was planted for actually becoming a digital nomad, eventually going on nomad cruise and doing all of those things. Had I never gone out of that routine, I would have never discovered that, and I would have still lived the same boring life.
That's amazing. So actually, in order to figure out what you like, you need to break the routine. Yes. And you need to do things unexpected to you. Surprise yourself to figure out what you actually like. Interesting. So then my question would be, for myself at this very point, that I don't know, and then maybe for you as well, if you think that everything that you did up until now, everything that we did up until now, including creating communities and conferences and whatsoever, was part of the routine, what routine do we need to break so that we find something that it's even going to be better?
Yeah, like you can only tell it after you did it, right?
Exactly.
You just gotta keep trying new things, do things that maybe are a little bit out of your comfort zone. Say maybe sometimes yes to a random thing, even though it doesn't necessarily appeal to you, but you just gotta keep trying new things to find those couple of things that will really resonate from you and that can bring it to the next level.
Yeah, only if you feel that you miss something from your life. I mean, I guess that's the thing. But the good news is that the listeners of this podcast are pretty much people who are looking for something different. So, and then I loved how we just like spiraled out to like, in order to actually create something new, you need to break routine, which means that you're looking for something different. And I love that we actually we arrived back to ground zero. Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, so I just want to go back a little bit to that particular part because I'm not an introvert. And definitely, like, COVID proved me that was freaking horrible for me, that I needed to stay alone for such a long time.
Yeah.
but I can get a little bit overwhelmed when it gets to like meeting new people, and especially meeting a lot of new people. How can I keep myself protected? So I want to break the cycle, for example, to I never participate in events. Can you imagine? I never just go to events. I need to always organize, which also tells a lot about me. But what would you suggest for those people who are a little bit afraid to meet with all these new people? Is there any kind of way how I can still feel safe somehow?
Let me see. So
as a participant.
As a participant, you go to an event and like for some reason, it feels like a barrier to go there because like you have to meet so many other people and what's going to happen and there's uncertainty
yes, exactly.
in that situation. Well, there's one thing that helps and it's showing up at an event when it starts, especially when it's a small event. Like, please don't come a lot earlier because then the organizer is probably still setting up things. But often for things like meetups and smaller events, there is this period where the organizer is there, but it takes a while for people to trickle in. And many times for the organizer, it's nice to have some first people in early as well. You get to connect with the organizer and you are already in the venue as people slowly trickle in. That's so much nicer experience than like entering an event that's already full of people.
Okay, that can be a good thing. Maybe I think I heard you sometimes when we were talking about this, or when I saw you on stage, and you mentioned there was this kind of a checklist that you do on conferences, maybe eating alone sometimes, and it just all comes back to me. What are the things that you that was on this checklist?
Yeah, that is specifically because I'm quite introverted. I need a lot of alone time to process and to just recharge my batteries.
Mm-hmm.
I just make sure, like during an event where there's a lot of social interactions, I also schedule time to just be alone and to have maybe dinner alone and read a book. So that's mostly about like feeling, okay, this is enough for now. Like I don't get any more benefits out of having another conversation. In fact, I'm not enjoying it anymore. And then also knowing when to leave, take a break for yourself, and come back when you're energized and you feel like it again.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the problem that I usually run into. It's that I don't say, and then it changed ever since I listened to you talk, because I know that I checked in with myself, like, do I actually still enjoy being out here? Or am I out here because I hope that it's going to be better?
Yes.
And there is a FOMO that what am I missing out on if I leave right now? But I think when you're tired, and then you go home and then that's all.
Yeah, I think we've maybe all had like this one example where you pushed through and you hoped that it got better and it got better and it was amazing. But if you look at the data, that's maybe like 1 in every 100 events. And those other 99 cases, you actually like could have had a way better evening if you just took some time for yourself to recharge, because that was it for the evening.
Yeah. I think it's also important to tell yourself whenever you're in an event or wherever else you are at, because I think it would be true for everything else when going out or staying in, is not being ashamed of staying at home. Like not feeling that it's something bad that you're doing, especially if you're an extrovert. Like don't think that you can't allow to stay at home and be in solitude for a little bit. Even when you're traveling, it's okay to stay at home and watch your TV show if you feel that your social batteries are down.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a precarious balance between like optimizing for comfort or being afraid, and that's the reason to stay home, or actually checking in with yourself and feeling, okay, like this was enough social interactions for now. I'm now consciously deciding to stay home for this evening. So it's like, yes, I totally agree with that, but like be careful that you do it for the right reasons.
Okay, that sounds good. All right, Marcel, where can my listeners find you if they want to join any of your events, or if they want to organize themselves a new community? Where can they find you?
Yeah, so for entrepreneurs, it's nomorenetworking.com/events. I announce all the events there, and there's also like, if the dates or times don't work for now, there's a mailing list that people can join. It's also on Instagram. Like everywhere it's called No More Networking.
Okay.
And my personal account is maybe put it in the show notes because my last name, like yours, is sometimes difficult to
Yes.
pronounce.
Yes, we'll put everything also where you can find Marcel if you're looking to establish your own community or you want to join. I suggest you first join something similar, and then you can investigate on something that is maybe your niche if entrepreneurs are not the one. Thank you so much, Marcel. I think it was amazing that we talked this through. I really liked how we went through various steps on how to create a community, and also from the side of an introvert. I think that was an extra spin on this. I really enjoyed this conversation. I hope to see you in one of your networks.
Nice. Yes, I really enjoyed it as well, Bori.
Thank you so much. See you soon, Summer.
All right. See you. Bye-bye.